Tonight on the program, we shall further examine last Saturday's election, pick out the loopholes and recommend solutions to right the wrongs ahead of the governorship election and in particular future elections. I have joining me in the studio to take a look at some issues as they concern the country. Gbenga Olawepo-Hashim, he is the former presidential candidate of the People's Trust, PT. You're welcome to Democracy Today.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, too. I think I've interviewed you before. Rather, I think it was via YouTube, Facebook. It was via Skype.
Yeah, probably.
Yes, I know. And we also have Alhaji Usman Ibrahim, the presidential candidate, the National Rescue Movement. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Good day, Joe.
Yes, let's start first of all, before we go into the real talk about how Nigeria can be rescued.
Yes, the word rescue.
Now, what was your experience on Saturday?
The experience of Saturday, I have already envisaged it, because before the election, I have cried out to INEC and said there is no plain level ground. And nobody listened to me. And I have to go to court, even before the election, to seek the interpretation of the Electoral Act. Because Nigerian politics have been turned to money, 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 money. There are good people out in Nigeria who want to come and contribute their quota for the development of this great country. But they have been scared away because they don't have money. And this issue of money, if we cannot do away with it in the entire politics of Nigeria, then there will not be selection or election of good leadership.
Do you say selection or election?
Whatever, because I say selection because now it is selection.
How?
What we have seen from the result is cooked. For example, in my polling unit, I was there. The result was the vote was cast, and I scored 200 votes.
Where's the polling unit? Nigeria.
In Kebbi.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, I was given less than the vote scored in the entire state. So that is why I am making reference as selection.
Less than the vote scored.
Of course.
Were you expecting more than the vote scored in the state?
No, not more than. But precisely what I have scored, I should be given. What I have scored. If I scored 10, I should be given 10. Not 9. If I scored 20, I should be given 20, not 25.
Now, when you talk like this, people will want to ask questions. If you already, before the end of the election, you already know what you have scored, because INEC is
because the result is count at the polling unit. Everybody knows they are supposed to be pasted on the wall for everybody.
They didn't paste it?
They didn't paste it.
But you saw
we saw it. We saw, because you need to be, the results supposed to be counted at the polling unit for every agent to record.
And your agents gave you a record of what you scored?
Yes.
At the end of the day, they didn't give you what you scored?
Of course.
Anyway, that's on that side. And Mr. Olawepo, I don't know, I'm smiling. I remember the last time we talked about the issue of the CJN, but today we're going to talk about the issue of the election, 23rd February. What was your experience?
Well, I think this election fell short of global standards, and even the standard of 2015 election, which was supposed to be a starting point. I had written INEC and requested that, in view of the first postponement, that 1 week was too short to get the confidence of the electorate back, and that we're going to have low voters turnout. At the end of the day, we have seen an election that recorded 35%.
That's almost the lowest.
turnout. It's the lowest in 40 years
Yes.
in election in Nigeria. And by African standard, disastrous. Ghana recorded 68% voters turnout in the last election. South Africa recorded 79% voters turnout. Niger, over 50% voters turnout. So I'm not talking about European standards, because I've seen a lot of gentlemen that I want to imagine are consultants to INEC who jumped on the television praising the election and what have you, and talking about we don't have to talk about global standards. I'm talking about African standards.
African standard.
This, to me, is poor. Now, you had our president has been elected with 15 million votes. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can question how those votes were secured, cancellations, and that's what Alhaji has been talking about. Votes not probably recorded. That's a different conversation. But I don't want to even get to the bean counting. Let's look at the big picture. The big picture is that 15 million votes is less than 8% of the population of Nigeria. So you have a president that has a very weak mandate, who has been elected by less than 8% of the population of the country.
Because yes,
that's not a strong democracy.
Yes.
And this is the big picture. So if I were Mr. President, and to be honest with you, I congratulated him, in spite of the shortcomings. I'm not going to court, because I was here when the CJN was removed. And if the man who is going to sit on the panel, we're not sure of where he stands in terms of his impartiality, then what's the use of going to court?
Going to court.
Anyway, so, I mean, I like to spend my time doing productive things. And one thing that I think is productive is this conversation that we're having now. Mr. President, APC, whether APC smashed the victory, hijacked the result, or in whatever way that they have done. Okay, they are now been given a mandate. And how do you feel, honestly, that you have been elected by less than 8% of
8% of Nigerians.
That should worry you.
Of course.
You should be worried as a chairman of a commission that conducted elections with billions of naira, and at the end of the day, less than 8% of the people elected a president. That's scandalous. Now, that's a conversation we need to have as a people, that our democracy is not progressing. It's regressing by our own standard, by African standard. We need to look at this as a people. And then we can also look at the other issue that he has raised.
The money issue.
I was caught 90 votes in FCT. There are thousands of votes in FCT. North Central Zone is the base of the PT. And that's where you had most cancellation.
Yes.
Kogi, Plateau, Benue, Nasarawa, and all that. Now, these are also states that are homes to ethnic minorities. And so you find legislators representing those states who do not reflect the composition of that place. So when you lock the door to those ethnic minorities to have their voice heard in parliament, they are going to show their voices in other areas. So how do you deal with this issue? So there are a lot more issues associated with the outcome of the last presidential election than just being counting about how many votes scored by one party or the other. I mean, I was told I scored 2,000 votes. The results,
the entire result, the final result.
In the whole, even as a student union leader, I scored more than that in the university election in one campus. So, and I've been elected as the national officer of a ruling party and had more votes in the National Convention when I stood election.
Wow,
INEC had given me.
That means even your party members didn't vote. That's what
absolutely. I mean, absolutely. So there is nothing to talk about in the result. I don't want to look at that because it's just absurd. It's ridiculous. And there is no need to examine that. And there are so many CSOs now who are consultants to INEC and all that. They jump on the television, even went to, and they started attacking. Even some of these parties should be deregistered. Oh, they had, what a scandal. What a disgrace for this country. 2015, the smaller parties did better on that 2015 election in terms of their results. Nobody was allocated 10 votes, 5 votes. Even though they did not campaign as hard as you have seen in this election. Our party ran electronic advert until the last day, even on AIT. We did press ads. So we only attracted 2,000 votes with all those things. We did rallies. People who came to our rallies in Abuja were more than 10,000. So they all turned out not to vote for us. They all went and voted. I mean, this is scandalous. But that's not the issue. The issue is, how do we remedy this thing? Yeah. How are we not as a country going to snuff the high
but don't you think
life out of democracy?
Don't you think before you look at remedying this whole thing, we should also look at what is responsible? Why did the people not come out to vote? We had about 82,344,107 registered voters. And I know that INEC came out with, I think they displayed the register for people to go check. And according to them, they had to clean up the register to remove names of people, dead people and all that, to remove wrong registration, fake names and what have you. And they arrive at this very number. And we are having just 29 million people who were accredited on the day of election.
Ijoma, you didn't need to be a prophet to know that there was going to be low voters turnout. There had been so much tension. In 2015, when there was a postponement, there was a 6-week cool-off period. There were discussions, there were meetings, there were confidence-building mechanism, People are not radio or television that you just turn off and tune them on. These are human beings with emotions, with work. They have traveled. Some have traveled to various locations. So I wrote INEC. If you continue with your 1 week. But I think it was a conversation to the death at that time, because even the two major parties were not interested in that conversation. And when we're talking about the challenges of the election that we just had, it's not just about APC, it's also about the PDP. They were not interested. I think they were so confident that they had so much money to buy the votes. So they were so confident, let's have the election anyway, anyhow. And anybody talking about let's have 4 or 5 weeks extension to them was an irritant. You understand? So anybody you didn't need to be a prophet to know that we will have low voters turnout. Yeah.
Now let's also look at from your side where you voted, what you think was responsible for the low voter turnout that Saturday.
You see, apart from the president scared people.
The president?
Yeah, by his statement when he said, shoot the ballot snatchers. Yes, I agree with him. He can make, but there is electoral law that means punishment for ballot snatching. But like my friends in the corporate bodies, I went to the bank and I was discussing with them. I'm telling them, look, you have to come out this time around and vote. And vote because you can't wait for some people alone to decide, because you are comfortable here. You can't wait for some people to decide who will be your president. And they say, for sure, we have gotten our PVC and we are going to vote. But when that announcement came, the postponement, and also the statement by Mr. President, people believe that, why will I be in a very chaotic environment? Then maybe I will get shot. Then I'm not going. because, oh, I thank God I have food, I am working. So all these corporate members of the public decided not to come out to vote.
As a working class?
Yes, the working class decided not to come out to the middle class.
Middle class.
Yes, they decided not to come out to vote. And they leave the voting to miscreant and ignorance, who did not know their left and right, who, if you ask them what is meant by government, what did government supposed to do for you, they don't know. And that's the people that vote.
And they just listen to the last command, vote whoever.
And also, hunger and poverty have ravaged them, and then they are dashing them in 1,000 naira and a rafa, and they are so happy. So they vote. What do you expect? And look at the percentage. If I am Mr. President, with all due respect to Mr. President, I will be worried for 8% of the total population of Nigeria voting for me to be president. I think it is a sober reflection. I will call for a National Council of State meeting, and then we can discuss that.
Well, that's 8%. I don't think it represents Nigerians.
It does not represent the voice of Nigerians. It doesn't.
But it's election, even if it's just 2%.
Yes, it's election, but election supposed to have credibility, supposed to have a human face. Supposed to have a human face, so that by the time I show the face, and people will say, yeah, it's a beautiful face.
But in a situation where Nigerians are complaining every day, we need to change the way things are going in this country, and the only way they can change that is for them to come out with their permanent voter cards and go vote. But on that day, they didn't come out to vote. Who do they blame?
We have been talking. You see, it looks as it is a strategic plan before even the election. If you remember, the National Assembly have passed the Electoral Act that says we can do electronic voting. We can collect the result electronically. But the ruling party, under the President, His Excellency, Mr. President, refused to sign the electoral bill. And it comes to me, they refuse to sign the electoral bill, and there is flaws in the electoral bill. Now, the electoral bill says that you should spend only R1 billion in campaign.
That's the Electoral Act.
Yes, the Electoral Act said spend only R1 billion. The party should spend R1 billion. And the electoral law continued to explain that if Mr. A wanted to support the candidature of Mr. Ibrahim Usman, by supporting him with 10,000 naira, his address, his place of work should be specified when you are collecting that money. And the party or the presidential candidate must understand where that person is working to generate that money that is contributing.
So where are you going to?
I'm going one thing. They have spent more than what INEC. I called the INEC chairman initially before the election. I said, look, there is no plain level ground, because there are good people in this country that wanted to come and contribute their quota. But because of this money issue in politics, people are scared. And it has happened. Like we have been writing position paper to government and said, look, this is how you are going to do employment. This is how you are going to do electricity. But it fell on the deaf ears. And that is what made me to come out. And when I come out, my party, because of the not too young to run, and my party in its wisdom, come with a policy not too poor to run. And I believe in that I can run without money, because my integrity and my love of my country, and people will believe in me that I can contribute. Seeing my policy document, people will vote for me. But what happened?
So are you one of those who believe that they stole your mandate?
Of course, yes. If the ground is plain, it's a plain level ground, I know I can perform better. But money issue has come in, and they have disenfranchised me. They have edged me out financially.
Because you are not too poor to run.
I'm not. Yes, because I stand by not too poor to run.
So you think? So what do you think should be done so that we get out of this quagmire?
The truth is that we have to do things that we are in 21st century, in a digital age. Look at how we shut down a country on Saturday. The following week, we shut down a country again and given even public holiday on Friday and shut down the country on Saturday. Do you know how much economically we miss? Why don't we go electronically? Now, for example, I have my bank card. I can do transaction anywhere.
Anywhere.
I can go to Britain, I can go to US and do the same transaction. If I'm in Nigeria and my voter's card, I can be in America and I elect my president. Why don't we do that? Why are we running away from him? Because the manipulators want to manipulate and refuse the good candidate that want to deliver the dividend of democracy to Nigerians.
Okay. Now, I remember INEC saying that before this election, before the February 23rd election, the INEC chairman kept saying the election will consolidate the gains of 2015, and a lot of persons started calling it the consolidation election. With all these challenges that we saw, and the low turnout of voters, and the thuggery, the security, and the harassment during the election, would you say that it was a consolidating election?
I was one of those who were very fair to Professor Yakubu when he called the stakeholders meeting. I set the tone, and because a lot of people really wanted to jump on him, and we tried to moderate that and give him a chance to really prove himself. I'm not biased in my judgment against him, but what he has done is a woeful failure. We have dropped from 44% voters turnout
to 35%.
To 35%, 9%
Down.
We have about 32 people killed on election day. Result collation could happen within 24 hours if you allow the electronic system. INEC said, despite the fact that the Electoral Act was not signed in their guideline, that they will use the electronic system to collate from the wards so as to guarantee transparency. They can do that in their guidelines.
Perhaps that's why they had to come up with this accreditation of voters simultaneously.
Not just accreditation. You can transmit the results electronically right from the polling unit and add them up. Just the same, you can do this even with your phone. Your phone. That's not a big deal. It's not. That could have been done. So for those CSOs hired by INEC who came, the process was laborious because there were 100 parties, because there were 1,000 parties, if there were two, and all kind of neo-fascist ideas to justify inefficiency. You could have had your collation done electronically within 24 hours. So you didn't need to hold this country to ransom for 3 days. And then going on high drama, some collation officer is flying from this is very ridiculous. So it's very ridiculous. And I think the president himself must really be embarrassed by this. And that's why he made the statement that after all this, we're going to have a probe. And I think we need to have a probe.
Into INEC.
Into INEC, the procurement, the deployment,
the
logistics, and all that. It's taxpayers' money.
Yes.
It's Nigeria's money. You can't put billions of naira into a charade like this and you just make a beautiful statement and get some CSO consultants to go around in the name of NGOs and make statements about how wonderfully you have done. I mean, we can't take that. Nigeria deserves to be treated more seriously than we have seen. And I think Mr. President himself should be embarrassed by this. I mean, to be quite honest, you can still return President Buhari in a more organized
election.
I'm not saying that President Buhari did not win. That's a different subject matter. Professor Gbenga, when he had his election in 2015, it was not as if there were no question marks as to some votes in Kano and all that. But everybody just had let it pass because there was some level of efficient organization. What I see here is gross inefficiency. And some intelligence could have been applied to do a better job than to waste billions of naira and come up with this kind of thing. If I were Mr. President, I would be embarrassed. I hope he's embarrassed. And I do think he's embarrassed because he made a statement. And I'll be looking forward to that probe. We need to know what kind of procurement has been done with all those monies, how the logistics were deployed. And we ended up with such a disastrous election.
Now, in your days as a student, you came out strongly to battle appetite. And what some persons experienced in the last election, up till now I have received so many messages of harassment, harassing a particular ethnic group and all that. Where are we going to in Nigeria? When in a Lagos that is known to be a free man's land, people are already complaining that they are being harassed.
We are a different generation. The generation that stood against armored tanks in Nigeria in order to have democracy. This is a different generation. The tolerance level for injustice is different from when we were younger and we were driven by higher level of patriotism. And it didn't have to be us. I remember when students were killed in Abu Zaire, in 1986. We shut down the country. So students in Nsukka did not go to class. You know, those who were in Port Harcourt did not go to class because as far as they were concerned, students in ABU were just students. All right. And that's what we're saying. Nigeria has had better standards than what we're having now. In the First Republic, Bono Ojike and co were chairpersons of local government in Lagos.
Yes.
Great Zik of Africa was elected into the parliament from Western Nigeria. Sir Hashim was elected in Benue by a predominantly Christian. Look, one of your senior managers, senior executives here today, Bayo Boduri, was an appointee of Alhaji Rimi in Kano. He was elevated at a young age to become deputy chief press secretary in Kano, and he didn't change his name from Bayo Boduri. That's the Nigeria that we knew.
So what is
the
wrong with
same Kano people voted Abiola and rejected Bashir Tofa.
Massively.
Now, what we have in Nigeria today is massive political degeneration. We are not moving forward politically. We are moving backward. And some people want to brandish, you know, some APC spin doctors are spinning this. Oh, we got votes from poor people.
I've seen write-ups like that. That's not patriotism.
We got votes from poor people. Yes, it is true that Borno has over 90% poverty incidence. It is true that the poorest people are in the northwest of Nigeria. Yeah. Now, maybe if I were them, I will interpret this mandate to mean we have confidence in you to take us out of poverty. It cannot be spinned to mean we are voting for you because we like poverty and want to stay poor. So I like to see, you know, so there has been a lot of spinning that can be emotive and that can be really some nonsensical stuff.
Exactly.
I think we need now, after the election as a country, to address some of this issue. Number one, we are a democracy. Number two, we are a multi-ethnic state. And the identities of people must be respected, protected, and secured wherever they live, whether in Lagos or in Kano or wherever. All right? And the APC spin doctors need to be reminded that none of them has produced a leader that is more northern than Sir Ahmadu Bello. And when Sir Ahmadu Bello was alive, there was a NEPO in northern Nigeria. There was a Middle Belt Congress. There was a Borno People's Congress. that controlled Borno, that was doing something different. So Nigeria has always been a pluralist polity. There's never been a time in our history when a party or individual will emerge as such a colossus that no other political group will breathe in the land again. That's a recipe for dictatorship. That is not democracy. And it is not consonant with our history.
Don't you think we need to break out of this chain?
Yeah, I think this conversation is part of it. One thing I told myself, and one of the reasons why I participated, is not just simply to be president. It's also to improve the quality of participation in terms of communication. Because I see a lot of memory loss in the country. Because, number one, you have a new generation of young people who didn't do history or civics.
For a while.
You know,
I think it's back to the curriculum.
You know, for a while. They didn't do history and civics. So, those of them who graduated didn't, like, some 20 years down this line. So, they don't even know who is Ahmadu Bello or anybody. They didn't know what it is to even be a Nigerian. They didn't know it. There was a sense of void. So, there's a disconnect, even in our national narrative. And under that void, all kind of rubbish can be put into, which is destroying Nigeria. You know, so we hope we will also address the issue of national consciousness. What consciousness are we having as a people? You know, and that's why somebody like me stepped in. And if you will notice, I ran a very issue-based campaign on the economy, on security, I was, even though we were skimmed out of debate. All right. Now, unfortunately, the results that we have from Professor Yakubu's election, you know, appear to me to punish those who campaigned harder. Those who campaigned harder had less votes. Those who didn't campaign had more votes. So, what kind of political system is it that gives lower marks to those who put the issue on the front burner? So we should just keep quiet, don't say anything, and then wait that somebody is going to allocate a big vote to you in the result. All
right, I will still have to ask you this question because Nigeria as a country belongs to everybody, and we must hold tight to our unity. If in Lagos State today, some persons were not allowed to vote, when they voted, their votes were turned down, they burnt them, and today I read all kind of articles that I don't. At times when I read these articles, I just looked at myself. I said, "Is this the Nigeria that we want?" As a co-northerner, how do you see this?
I feel very bad. I feel really very bad because having been a military child and go around the country and see how Nigeria was before, I feel very ashamed of myself. And if you look at it, the election of 2019 was designed to be a do-or-die affair. And that is why they have already made some strategy. It might be an allegation, but it is a strategy that a party that are having some stronghold, the stronghold of the party will be disrupted, because there is this issue in the electoral act that if there is disruptions at the polling unit, the election
will be cancelled.
So it's a strategy by politicians. Okay, since I'm not going to win that place, then I will bring problem in that place, and then the board will be cancelled. That is it. Whether it's an allegation, whether you just add 1 and 2, you will arrive at that. And that is what happened in Lagos, that is what happened in Rivers, that is what even happened here close in Mararaba.
Plateau.
In Mararaba. Yes, that's what happened. So the issue is that, look, we are not going to win the election if we allow A and B and C to participate fully. So we need to disrupt A and B and C in order to make gain in our stronghold. That is it. And let me call the attention of Nigeria. If we continue to do that, we are dividing this country, and I'm afraid what will be. But I'm not afraid now of these players that are, because they are already old. They are already 80, 70, 90 years old. They are planning destruction to we the youth, except the Nigerian youth. Except the Nigerian youth. Sit down and think twice. That look, what these people are doing negate our narratives, negate our principles. Our principle is that we want a one united Nigeria.
But it seems this election has even divided the country further, because a situation where you look at vote coming from the north, huge. Then the one coming from the north central is a little bit close and all that. It's people are beginning to read along the line.
Look, even before the election, the country has been divided. In all my program, when I decided to declare my aspiration in Oshun, Oshogo. I did my declaration in Oshogo. What do I want? Why do I do that? Because I realized when the new government came, the appointment did not reflect the balance in the country. So what I was trying to do then, by going to Oshogo to do my declaration, is to be a bridge builder. And let's forget that if, for example, in the whole security architecture of this country, only a part of a country were appointed, and the remaining part are not given opportunity, then how do you feel the other people will take you serious when you are discussing a national security issue? So the country has been already devastated since from 2015 by appointment, and the wars happened during the election. And look at it. It's something for people to get worried. A section of a country is bringing this number of votes. The other section of the country is bringing this number of votes. Then where is the national cohesion?
That's the question we should put across to everybody. Anyway, we'll just take a short break. When we come back, we'll look at solution, the way forward. Where do we go from now? All right, thank you very much for staying with us. You can also send us your message. Before we go, we'll take it. Just send a message to our social media platform. You can follow us on our Twitter handle at Democracy Today with the number 2 and Y Day. You can also tweet at me at EJ or Samo. I'll be taking your messages before we go. Now, yesterday I was having a kind of conversation with somebody, and the person said, people are living in Nigeria as if they have no country. Today, you just see a man in his home just happy with his home, but when issues about Nigeria come, say, I don't care. What is wrong, and where are we going to? What's the solution to this? There's so much divide in the country.
Well, if I were the president, my cabinet will not be an APC cabinet. I will go ahead and form a government of national unity. As a matter of fact, if I had been declared winner, that's what I said I was going to do, because the country is badly divided. And to fix the country right now, you do not just need politicians, you need statesmen. This is the time to have statesmen that can put the country together. You need the expertise of people who are not even in politics. Some people who are even abroad in the area of security, etc., and other things. So we need a government of national unity. We need a very honest conversation that goes beyond party affiliations on how to heal the wound in the land and bring the country back together as one. I love this country.
How do we get such when even the national chairman of the party, a lot of persons have been saying, have been making statements that can even divide the country the more?
You mean who?
The national chairman of the APC. You said if you were...
Well, I know Comrade Adams. Comrade Adams loves Nigeria. He just needs to settle down and know that the election is over.
He's still in the euphoria of elections.
And that we have a country now to fix. Hey,
Not
APC, you have won. Whether you took it, stole it, or whatever. That's my message to them. Now you need to settle down and govern the country. You need to unite the country. You need to secure the country. 11 out of 19 northern states in this country are under permanent insecurity. And he said most of the chiefs of the armed forces are all from the same region. So do they enjoy their people being killed? Is that what I'm supposed to believe? That they really enjoy the bloodletting that is going on in northern Nigeria? Is that how to love their people and to love their country? So we must have a very serious conversation going forward as a people. And this is not about politics. General Buhari has won, okay. And we have congratulated him. Now he needs to govern. He needs to bring the country together. He needs to take these people that are poor, that the APC spin doctor is saying love him so much. He needs to now bring them out of poverty. 4 years, there has not been any significant improvement. That's why they are still poor. If there had been some improvement on the economy, they would have been out of poverty. So the Minister of Planning, his economic team, will now need to give us a roadmap to bring those people out of poverty in 4 years. We need a roadmap to get the youths that are now being given 1,000, 2,000 to vote one way, who are largely unemployed. We have 36.5% unemployment rate, youth unemployment rate in the country right now. Now we need a blueprint to get them out.
Exactly.
And I've not seen that in the APC manifesto or blueprint. There was no campaign of such. So maybe this period before the handing over, and just to be clear, I am not offering myself to be a member of cabinet. Before I start getting some nasty insults, I'm a very contented man, and God has really sorted me out. I don't want to be in anybody's cabinet. We are going to help and advise how this country can be fixed, and that's why we are out to get the country working again. So I'm not looking for a job.
Okay, now let's, the voting pattern. You'd have asked you this question before. Is it consolidating democracy in Nigeria, or is further dividing the nation?
I don't understand consolidation in this
The
sense.
voting pattern.
No. I know. I understand.
Consolidating democracy.
I understood your question fully, but I wanted to repeat it. The word consolidation. Consolidation with 8% of the population? Is that what you mean?
I've asked you the question.
I have thrown the question back to you. Is it what you mean by consolidation? Then if that is not what you mean by consolidation, then it is the other way around. So there is no consolidation. For me, there is no consolidation. There is none. And what my good friend said here, let's put politics aside.
How do we consolidate it?
Yes, let's put politics aside. Let's be very frank and sincere to ourselves. With the unemployment rate of this nature, with the poverty level of this nature, now politicking has already gone. He has won an election, whether he is taking the mandate or whatever. All we are talking now is how do we govern the country, how do we solve the issue of unemployment, how do we solve the issue of poverty, how do we bring electricity in this country. Look, he's talking that like on Thursday when he collected the certificate of return, he made a statement that it will be inclusive government. But on Friday again, when some of the ministers visited him to congratulate him, he said Nigeria forgot easy. That they forgot that he has made a promise of economic fighting corruptions and insecurity. And now it will be tough.
So do you understand what that tough is?
I'm coming. Tough. Okay. Tough. How? That's the questions everybody brought. But for me, I'm looking maybe tough in poverty.
He didn't say that.
No, but thought can be many things. Thought for insecurity or what? The basic issue, let's put politics aside. Let's face the issue. I come from the northern part of the country. I come from Kebbi State. And I have seen what is happening in Zamfara. I get worried every day because it's a border to my state. If care is not taken, there will be spillover in Sokoto to Kebbi. It's already happening in Sokoto.
Katsina.
And look at Katsina.
It's happening there already.
So, what do we do to salvage this issue? That is the basic thing now. We congratulate him. Yeah,
all right.
But
all right,
there should be national discussion. How do we talk? Let's call discussions that open discussion to see how do we
another national conference.
No, I'm not talking of a national discourse.
All right,
we can open national discourse like what we are doing now.
Okay.
And what we want is that let the government have the listening
ears. We are out of time, so I'll just need you to say one or two statements. What is the way forward?
Mr. President has to give the leadership to unite the country, heal the wounds, give soothing words, calm frayed nerves, be diplomatic. This is not the time for threats and ultimatum. This is the time to offer words of comfort to Nigerians.
All right, that's how we go, but let me just take one or two messages here. Marcel Ahaneku, APC is rejoicing in victory, but he advised military and thug to avoid suppression of voters. You might win today, but remain tomorrow. And Uche Nelson is saying the two gentlemen with you in the studio are making a lot of points. Please, one of them says I should contact you. I will need to have your contact. Well, this is where we say thank you for being a part of this program.